Hi guys, and welcome to my review on this latest episode of Raw. And I gotta say, this was kind of like one of the more underwhelming episodes of Raw for my personal liking, especially with being kind of like a go home to Saturday night's paid event. But yeah, we'll get into it. So we had basically kind of got into kind of like the best part of like 10 minutes of this episode of Raw, and we had basically just had a recap, and the rest was just Jey Uso's entrance. And it just got to a point, I know Jey Uso is really over with the crowd and stuff like that, and I don't know, maybe I just kind of like him, just sounded like middle-aged grumpy fart here, but yeah, it just kind of like, I just don't feel like it need to be like, we're 10 minutes into this, and like we just had nothing happen, we just had a recap and just eating, but wrestling isn't, just for me. I know, but there's, a lot of like younger kids and stuff. They were just going to be totally down with us. So, I get that it's not, this is just kind of like a personal taste thing, and it just kind of like, but yeah, so when the show finally got going, we had this led to obviously Jey Uso and CM Punk cutting their promo, which I think was fine. It was there was a lot of little plan of the seeds about kind of continuing this narrative of this little turn that Jey Uso is kind of like doing, this like little edge where he's kind of getting to his character, and CM Punk asking the question of just how far he's prepared to go to kind of get this title. You had some little kind of like little nuggets here, and yeah, so I think this was fine as far as promos go. So we then moved on to the Judgment Day. Then this kind of continuing falling out between the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio, which is kind of like, it feels like the longest breakup in history round about now. But I guess, like I said, you kind of don't really want necessarily, but I feel like kind of just kind of biding their time, maybe for Liv Morgan to return, and then that's when they're going to pull the trigger on all of this. So yeah, so I just, so yeah, because obviously that would be kind of like a loose end as well. So I think I just kind of buy in their time with this, and yeah, this is another segment that I didn't really like, because it ended up with obviously the Judgment Day basically just obviously Finn Balor and Jade McDonough had lost the tag team titles the week before. So they had basically said, they're not going to help Dominic Mysterio retain here. So s- um yeah, so basically, because there was a number one contenders match between Rusev and Penta. It's been a long day. So yeah, there was this the number one contenders match between Rusev and Penta. So Dominic Mysterio was looking for kind of like a way to kind of like throw this out, because obviously his part of his character is a coward. So he didn't want to. Although I'm sure we're kind of heading towards Dominic Mysterio becoming a babyface. So I just feel like, yeah. So the Judgment Day weren't going to help him. So the segment ended with him making a phone call to his mysterious person saying that he needed help. Although straight away we're kind of like, okay, so Grande Americano is coming out, and that sure enough was what happened. They intervened the Rusev and Penta match to kind of like throw it out, and obviously from Dominic Mysterio's rationale, this is kind of like, well, if it gets thrown out, there can't be a number one contender, and therefore I don't have to, and which never kind of happen, which never kind of works for a heel in wrestling, but yeah, but it kind of like bummed me out a bit, because up until this getting this match getting thrown out. It was a solid match, Rusev and Pellin put on a solid match. So I was kind of like bummed out also, but it was kind of like just a foregone conclusion that he was just going to end up in kind of like shenanigans and stuff and just end up getting thrown out. So we had basically so yeah, this had kind of work to Dominic Mysterio's favor, at least momentarily, because throughout the rest of the episode we had followed the general manager Adam Pearce looking for Dominic Mysterio and eventually saying that setting up a triple threat for a Saturday night main event. So yeah, we had basically we had moved on to another like a backstage segment, another commercial one. I think this might have been for anybody who wasn't watching Netflix. I think this might have happened in the commercial break. I'm not too sure, but this was another segment between the New Day. But this was just Grayson Waller and Kofi Kingston, and the absence of Xavier Woods. Hopefully, nothing's too serious there. Hopefully, he's okay. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like get into another gripe of mine, because ever since the New Day turned heel, I found them really entertaining. I find, so I've got a lot of entertainment value. So I guess, wrestling and sports entertainment. So by that rationale, I can kind of complain, but I do feel like the talents of them, especially Kofi Kingston, are just being wasted in these segments and just being these kind of like little side clown shows. I just feel like it's kind of like wasting their talents, and it just feels like when we had put the titles on the New Day, which seems like forever now, it felt like it was a way to kind of revitalizing those tag team, and it just never happened. And we seem to be in this Groundhog Day bit where we're looking towards various title changes happening in WWE, and we're going, this is the right move to make because it just revitalizes it, and then it just kind of like doesn't really, and you just end up kind of like having the same thing. So it just so again, I just feel like it's kind of just kind of like wasting their talents a bit, really. We had other backstage segments here between Jay and Jimmy Uso, and the developing seeds with that. We had Jimmy Uso initially kind of feeling really kind of like aggrieved at what had happened with the Royal Rumble, with Jey Uso becoming having a title shot after dumping his brother out of the Royal Rumble. Although Jey Uso's rationale was it's a Royal Rumble, as every man for himself, and which is kind of fair, and I do feel like this is why maybe I'm not fully convinced we're getting the Jey Uso heel turn, because I do feel like he's just kind of like walking that path. On the one hand, I feel like he's kind of too over with the fans. There's too much kind of like merch stock in him, and I just feel like he's kind of a bit too over, but there was something that needed to be changed in his character and just give him a little bit of an edge. And I just feel like this is kind of, it reminds me a bit of actually of when we were talking about maybe looking at potentially Cody Rhodes turning heel against John Cena, and it's like, it's not a sign that he's turning heel, it's just the developing kind of to his character, and it just I kind of feel like this is kind of along those same lines, but again, we still kind of I do still feel there's other beats in this relationship. I do, in this narrative, the story that they're telling, I do feel like we're going to see it continue, where Jimmy Uso is at least going to be kind of like following his brother, albeit somewhat reluctantly. And I feel like there's different beats to hit in this developing story. So yeah, that's all kind of like interesting. And maybe they even teased about them having a face off, which I'm all kind of down for. Hopefully won't be, it will be better than their WrestleMania 40 match. Well, it kind of has to be, doesn't it? So that's kind of so so yeah, we had Bron Breakker and LA Knight here. For once, it wasn't the main event, so that was kind of refreshing in itself, I guess. But again, we had Bron Breakker picking up a win. So it seems to be like LA Knight is on this bit of a downward spiral as well. So yeah, I'm not too sure what they're gonna do with that. Maybe it could maybe spin him off with something to do with Jey Uso. Maybe I'm not really sure. Kind of like where they kind of go with LA Knight, but again, he's another one who I feel like maybe deserves more of a push than he kind of gets. So yeah, we had the yeah, like I said, we then had Adam Pearce obviously confirming the triple threat match for Saturday night main event between Dominic Mysterio, Penta, and Rusev for the Intercontinental title. We did have a solid match between JD McDonough and Sheamus here as well. So yeah, we put that in the plus column. We then had another backstage segment where they were Adam Pearce was talking about booking Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch. This wasn't going to happen in Saturday night's main event, though. I do feel like ultimately they're kind of using this as a kind of a holding pad for AJ Lee to return, and this is just kind of like a little bit of a holding pad. So I feel that's maybe the reason why they haven't just jumped back in and booked this for Saturday night's main event, because I feel like they had Maxine Dupree kind of going, well, I just need to go off and kind of do my little background and research to make sure I've really got a handle on Becky Lynch. So I just feel like they're kind of like buying their time for maybe like AJ Lee returns in time for War Games, and we kind of just biding their time, like I said, between them with this. So yeah, we had then and there was another backstage segment then between AJ Styles and Dragon Lee against the Judgment Day, and talking about a potential rematch. Adam Pearce wasn't really keen on giving them a rematch because he just feels like Judgment Day was just kind of like cheating and weren't really deserving of this. But AJ Styles were like, hey, we're the champions, so yeah, you want a rematch, we'll give you a rematch. What do you say, Dragon Lee? And then Dragon Lee didn't answer the question and just went, I am fire, I am, and all this. And it's like, that wasn't actually what he said. Like, so I find entertainment in that, if nothing, if nothing else. That Dragon Lee was asked what he thought about a rematch, and Dragon Lee just went off on this kind of self-promotionary, I am fire kind of speech. So that did make me chuckle. And like I said, I got nothing against that. Like I said, I like a goofy side of wrestling. So I'm all for that. You know what I mean? And then we got into our main event, which was the tag team match between Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, defending the titles against Bailey and Lyra Valkyria. And it said in the backstage segment that apparently Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss are like 2 matches away, maybe 1 match away now from giving the most title defenses of a women's tag team, which sounds kind of cool, but it also seems kind of like confusing as well, because honestly, before this match was announced, I was kind of a bit like, I had actually forgotten about Charlotte Flair, and I had actually forgotten about Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss being tag team champions. So I kind of like, yeah. So again, they just felt like this team had kind of stood away. But yeah, like I said, I think with the Raw tag team division has been in some problems for some time, so I just feel like yeah, hopefully they can get that sorted soon. So yeah, that was pretty much our episode of SmackDown, folks. So yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for taking the time to see this video. This is a new channel being started up, so really appreciate all of your support. So if you like this video and you want to see more wrestling content, because let's face it, the wrestling calendar is always going to provide us with regular content to upload here. So lots of stuff will be kind of coming your way, because that's just the way the wrestling calendar is. So yeah, you want to see all that stuff, and they'll be uploading like vintage stuff as well as here. So yeah, like I said, lots of wrestling content coming your way on this channel. So if you're a wrestling fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And yeah, let me know down in the comment section about what your own thoughts were on this episode of Raw. And until next time, I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.